everybody, Ty here. I would say I hope you all are doing well like I normally would in this case, but I'm pretty sure I know how a lot of you all are doing, considering the fact that it's probably hot enough that somebody out here today in at least each of these states here that's showing 90 plus, especially 95 plus, might have tried to fry an egg either on their car bonnet or on the sidewalk. So, yeah, it's hot. Let's just call it what it is. But that being said, of course, we're going to get into the details with this, of course, and also when this might end, which I'm going to already kind of cut to the chase here. It looks like it's going to linger for a bit. So make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do to stay properly hydrated. And furthermore, also make sure that if you don't have to be outside in the heat, don't. I mean, pretty self-explanatory at this point. Now, one other thing I want to address is some of you probably would be inclined to think this not to be insulting, but oh, it's 95 to 100 degrees. Surely there's no chance for thunderstorms or severe weather. Oh, well, what do we have here? Severe thunderstorm watch in effect right now, and there's more chances of shower and storms maybe developing later this afternoon over towards this region, and a slight risk area has also popped up over here towards the northeast. The main threat with these today are going to be wind and hail. There's no significant tags or anything like that. There's a very small chance of a tornado over here towards the western high plains. I wouldn't expect much to really come of this right now, but yes, we can still get severe weather even though it's blazing hot outside. And then we even have a chance that lingers into tomorrow. And this area is actually in my neck of the woods where we're expected to be pushing pretty close to the triple digits once again, just like today. It's actually 96 degrees in my area right now. Some of you north of me are actually dealing with triple digits, which is wild. Up in Boston, I think I saw somebody have 102 already, and it's not even like 5 o'clock. So, again, one of those days where you definitely want to try to stay inside unless it's absolutely necessary to be out there. Main threat in regards to tomorrow is going to be the damaging wind threat. Hail threat's going to remain pretty low. There is an isolated tornado chance once again towards the Midwest. I don't expect much to come of that, but we'll keep an eye on that nonetheless here. We'll go over the details on that in just a little bit. And then we have the day 3 marginal right now. There is a chance that at least one of these areas, and I will probably put my money down on really, I would say maybe even both of these to have a chance to go up the slight bit here. I don't know which one I would pick more as of right now, based off parameters that I've seen. But with as much moisture, unfortunately, and as much heat as we have towards both these regions, I can't rule either one of them out. Then we actually have a day 4 slight risk over towards the northern plains as well. So despite it, like I said, despite it being hotter than sin, there's still chances for severe weather here. So we're going to be staying plenty busy on the channel. I'm just thankful that right now I have some time off from work, because in case any of you missed it, I work outside. I'm a landscaper, but my job thankfully has an off season. So I'm extremely thankful right now that I am not out there. Sometimes it sucks to twiddle your thumbs, but sometimes you have to be grateful for the small things. And being outside 95 plus ain't fun, especially for 6 to 8 hours plus a day. I've done it for 10 to 11 before. It's not fun. I promise you that. Anyway, enough talking about my issues. Let's take a look at what the catalyst is behind this heat wave that we have here. And you guessed it, it's this little feature right here. This is our ridge that is causing a lot of agony right now. It's a very strong ridge at that, so it's been pushing a lot of warm air out here. And under a lot of these areas, it's been hard to get any sort of showers and thunderstorms for any relief here. So the issue is going to, of course, continue at least over the next day or so for some of these areas. We watch this ridge eventually begin to move north. Shower and thunderstorm chances will begin to increase as a small little low pressure feature pops up over here towards Florida, and as a result, it's going to kick that ridge out, and ultimately, we're going to start to see a little bit, and I mean only a little bit of relief here. We're still going to see plenty of highs that will be reaching 90 plus, but at least we'll start to have some chances for showers and storms, and at least for the moment temporarily cool us down. I'm sure if you are a southern veteran, if you know what I mean, as far as like living here is concerned, you know what tends to happen when we get those summertime storms. We'll get a good little storm, it'll cool down the temperatures briefly, and then either we get another one that follows up behind it, or back builders I like to call them, or it gets hot all over again and now it's even more muggy. So still, you need to be watchful of thunderstorm activity and also just keeping yourself hydrated in general. So we keep this moving here. I want you to watch what happens out towards the west right now. So eventually, things start to level out after we get past that 5-day mark. And then eventually a new ridge is going to build up here, and some troughing as a result also going to occur over here towards the eastern half of the US. So we will break out of the heat wave probably by the July the 4th weekend, and then from that point and beyond here, we'll start to see that big shift to where we're going to be dealing with very similar conditions to what we're seeing here in the east, now out towards the west, especially over towards the Rockies. And this is how we're going to be starting out July. Now, if we were to go ahead and take a look at our shortwave setup here, you can see that just based off the contour lines here and all the amplitude that's being showed there, that there's still plenty of energy in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, and this is what's going to help keep us in the game for shower and thunderstorm chances pretty much across the board here. It's been a pretty active summer in regards to severe weather, or at least the start of it has been, and I would expect that trend to continue, not just because of what we saw in the SPC maps here, but just based off of this in general. It's a pretty organized look here that kind of pops up as we get later into the evening towards this region here. Looks like a pretty pronounced MCS pops up here Sunday, so there's additional days that I'm watching, even though they aren't listed as slight risk or anything beyond at this point, but there's plenty of activity to go around here, especially over towards the Rockies. I'm really interested in seeing how things pan out as we get that new ridge to pop up here. I don't think we're going to lose those shower and storm chances by much here. And then as we continue to go forward here, you can see the activity over towards the east really begin to ramp up as we get into early parts of July here. Now keep in mind, the further out we look, less confidence I have, less confidence there is to really be had. But what I have noticed though is with that troughing, I would expect shower and storm chances to continue to ramp up going forward. We'll see what happens on the severe weather side of things. During this time of year, we tend to usually have more of what's called a mesoscale situation, or a nowcasting situation, where usually not until the day of or even a few hours before will we get an idea of what to expect in regards to our thunderstorm potential and just how significant it can be. So let's go ahead now and take a look at our low-level jet. And there are a few days that are kind of marked as head scratchers here. Tomorrow kind of looks like it could be one of those days. And then Thursday also could be another one. But like I said, during this time of year, we kind of have a hard time figuring out what's going on here in the short and medium range. Really, it's not going to be until we get towards like the day of typically. But some days that have kind of piqued my interest might be right around the end of June into July. We might have a couple opportunities. But during this time of year also, we end up having a lot of what's called the high cape or high energy events with little wind shear. So as a result, looking at the 850 map, it's not entirely useless, but it's not quite as helpful as it would be, let's say, during the springtime, where you have the textbook setups with the super robust troughs. You're not going to quite see that as much on here. You're going to be looking more so towards the lower levels of the atmosphere, looking more of the thermodynamic variety when it comes to models versus just looking straight up at the low-level jet. So let's go ahead now, take a look at our dew points here, and this is also what's kind of adding to the misery right now. The feels like temperature is much worse as a result of this moisture that we have here, whether it's from your crops or it's from the Gulf here. The problems continue, unfortunately. So the best way to stay ahead of the heat, especially if you're an outdoor worker like myself, is to stay pre-hydrated here. If you stay pre-hydrated, you can stay ahead of yourself, because once you start losing that water at a rapid pace, it tends to usually go downhill from there. So even if you don't work outside, if you're just running outside, you're planning to be outside for an extended period of time, which I wouldn't recommend really, to be honest with you. Best thing to do is to prehydrate the night before. That's really the best way to keep yourself safe. And you can see that even the crops are active here in regards to the corn sweat here, because you can see this little area pop up here where I think we even may have gotten into the 80s here on dew points from time to time. Yep, there it is right there. Because you can't tell me that that Gulf moisture is making it all the way up here, not with that low level flow. So that tells me right there, it's crop season, folks. If you're over towards the Midwest, definitely that time to prehydrate at night. Pickle juice might be a good option as well. And then across the board, this really isn't going to be changing much. If anything, it just seems like the moisture only builds further as we get into July here. So, like I said, definitely would urge anyone that's going to be outside right now for the next few weeks to really keep themselves hydrated. So, here is where things really start to get a little bit intense here in regards to these heat indices. We're going to put both of these into a loop here. What you're looking at in the main part of the screen is obviously the temperature map. The high today for my area might even reach 100. And then here are the relative humidities to go with that. We're going to throw this into a loop along with this. And when you see these green and blue areas kind of pop up, this is us getting into that 70 to even as high as maybe 100% relative humidity at the surface. Combine that with temps where we're getting into the 90s and beyond here. Those heat indices are going to get well above 100 degrees. And then on top of that, with those humidities, you aren't able to sweat like you might sweat a lot faster. So the rate in which you lose water might just be higher too. So again, I know I keep saying it, but I'm telling you this from experience, because it's nothing like having an 11-hour day outside and you end up getting dehydrated at hour 6 or 7 and you still have much more to do. It's enough to make you go to your knees. It's happened to me before. Trust me. It's not a game. In fact, heat exhaustion, heat stroke are very common during this time of year, but they are nonetheless more dangerous. So let's not do that. But in any case here, let's actually go ahead and show those heat indices too, just so you guys know how serious this is. I'm not the type to I'm really just trying to drive the point home here, so that way everyone stays ahead of the game, because I'm telling you, the heat is not something to mess with here. Alright, so here is the heat index map here, by the way. You can see right now, heat indices in my area are already above 100 degrees. Towards the Carolinas, where we're even close to that Atlantic Ocean water to go with it. There are even some areas where we're getting up to about 105 to 107 degrees in regards to the feels like temperature and the heat index. And like I said, this isn't going to be going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, tomorrow might even be a tougher day for a lot of these regions here. The worst of the heat indices are going to be, of course, over towards the east coast here and towards the deep south. Eventually we'll start to see this shift a little bit and eventually start to die down as that ridge begins to break. But watch what happens once that new ridge begins to form out towards the west. We end up seeing those heat indices really beginning to build in a little bit more towards the southwest, and then eventually working its way into the northwest here. Well, not as significant as of right now. It's still a little bit early, and these models really don't start to latch on to anything till we get a little bit closer in range here. So again, no matter which part of the country you're in, at some point you're going to be dealing with some pretty significant heat. There's going to be one coming this way in the future, and there's one here that's here right now. So again, make sure you are taking your proper precautions and doing whatever you need to keep yourself healthy and safe. So back to the severe weather side of things real quick, where we take a look at that surface cape. There's going to be plenty available, and we're going to continue to see that be the trend really over the course of the next couple weeks here. And look at the energy in particular that kind of pops up over here towards the Midwest. this is going to be a point of interest as we exit the month of June, and even this will even linger a bit as we get into July here. Eventually, things will become a little bit more favorable for the deep south, and that's going to be due in large part to that troughing that we're going to start to see occurring with this pattern shift that we have here. Then before long, we'll eventually begin to see some of that trending back over towards the Midwest here as well as we get towards mid-July. We talked about we kind of talked about how things were going to be potentially going as we got into July and in the whole month as a whole here in our July outlook. So make sure you check the top right hand corner for that link there so you can watch the full video on that, because so far definitely kind of looks like a carbon copy of how this month went. So last but not least, we're going to take a quick look at what the simulated radar could be as of right now for these next couple weeks here. As I said before, rain chances are going to start to really increase as we get toward tomorrow and beyond here for the deep south and then over towards the Midwest. And this is going to be a prominent trend for the rest of the month. Then as we go further along, we're going to start to see a little bit more activity beginning to occur here in the south and a little bit less towards the northern plains and over towards the Midwest for a brief period before we start to switch things up here, and then we're back to the plains yet again, and mainly over towards the Midwest where things are going to be pretty busy. Deep south is going to be pretty consistent with the moisture once we get past this ridge here, so at least for some of us over here, relief is in sight. We just have to tough it out for a few days, and I know not everybody likes to hear it, and trust me, I'm with you on that right here as well, because like I said, work outside. I definitely love a break from the heat, and I'm hoping that we can maybe have an earlier end to this. But in any case, though, this is a brief rundown of what we have going on here. If you're over towards the southwest, as I mentioned before, or maybe I mentioned it before, we actually have a brief period where we're going to be dealing with a lot of shower and storm activity here. So monsoon season is in effect, and it's over towards the southwest where really we have below average chances for temperatures here as well. So if there's anyone who's winning right now, it's you guys. But looks can also be deceiving, because the temperatures that a lot of us are dealing with over here towards the east of the Mississippi is what they deal with here regularly. So I'm sure some of them are making fun of us right now. But enough foolery from here. You've heard me ramble enough for today. I appreciate you all tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, take care and have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay cool, stay healthy, and hydrated.